Thank you for being here. My name is Charles Clarkson. I'm the Director of Avian Research at the Audubon Society of Rhode Island, and I would very much like to welcome you to the second annual Birds Across New England Audubon Regional Conservation Symposium. I'm happy that you are all here. This event this year is quite a bit larger than last year. Last year we had 80 people, and we held the event at one of our smaller refuges, and this year we decided we would try scaling up, see if it worked, and it did. So there are about 200 plus people here today. We have a day full of talks, and I am excited to bring this event to the public. So I'll explain a little bit about the idea behind the symposium and why it's important in a few minutes. So I wanted to thank, first of all of the presenters who have come today. They've come from quite a far array of locations. We've got folks coming from National Audubon, New England, basically the Northeast in general, and everyone has driven quite a long way to be here just to present to this one group of audience members, and so I appreciate their attendance. And I also want to thank all of you as attendees for coming, because honestly, you can't make waves from a conservation perspective unless you have buy-in from the public. So it's important for us, particularly at Audubon, that when we strive to advocate for metrics of conservation or effective management, we get the full weight of the public behind us, because the work that we do is important, but it is completely meaningless unless we have devoted and dedicated people from the general public who are supportive of what we do. So thank you for being here. Thank you for taking the time out of your schedule to be here for this full day symposium. And I sincerely hope that you're going to glean some important information out of your day here. I just wanted to start off with kind of putting an impetus on as to why we're here. There's no shortage of publications that have come out over the last decade or so that have all kind of said the same thing. Birds are in trouble, and they have been for quite some time. This is a graphic that came from a 2019 paper, which I'm sure will be referenced many, many times today in many, many different talks. And it shows that over the course of just the last 50 years, we've lost 30% of all of the birds, so total numbers of individual birds from the North American landscape, which equates to roughly 30% of the total, so 3 billion individual birds. So it's a very stark metric to kind of digest when you consider the fact that we've lost so much in such a very short amount of time. And here in Rhode Island, we are primarily concerned with many of the species that are not only drastically declining here in our state, but elsewhere as well. Things like aerial insectivores, so swallows and chimney swifts. These are populations that have been declining very rapidly, and as a result of that, we've targeted our management plans around these species to try to understand what the primary drivers of decline are. Is it potential nesting location? Is it potential food resources? We also have declines in insectivores that are not aerial in nature, so a lot of our tyrant flycatchers that fly all the way up here from Central and South America to nest in your backyard, such as the eastern kingbird, have been declining at a rate of just under 3% per year for the last 50 years. And while 3% per year doesn't sound like a lot, when you add it all up, it actually can accumulate over time. And so I'll give you a good example of that. This is the eastern towhee, a bird that all of you, I'm sure, know, and historically was very common in the state of Rhode Island. But this is a species that's been declining here in New England at a rate of over 4% per year for the last 50 years. And when we started our survey routes with the breeding bird survey routes that are found throughout both the mid-Atlantic and southern New England in 1966, we were finding roughly 40 eastern towhees for every survey route that we ran. Today, in 2019, we're finding 1 or 2. So the species has completely disappeared from a large amount of its previous geographic range, and it is one of our responsibility birds at Audubon, Rhode Island. We're working hard to understand what the primary drivers of decline here in Rhode Island are and what we can do to bring the population back. So there's a very real need to try to bring these species back. If you look at even a larger spatial scale, this is the entire range of the eastern towhee across all of North America. And you can see all of the red. So the red is depicting decline, and across its entire range throughout the east, it's declined in just the 10-year period from 2012 to 2022 at a median rate of 15%. So the species are declining. They have been for a while. The writing is on the wall. We've been talking about it for a long time, but I consider this to be an all-hands-on-deck period for conservation, where we have to really focus our energy, our effort, our manpower on figuring out how to mitigate the declines, and hopefully reverse some of them if at all possible. Looking at these types of data were really the impetus for our creation of our first ever State of the Birds reports. So if you're not familiar with this, we published 2 reports last year that helped to kick off our first avian research symposium. And these reports really were generated from volunteer collected data. Show of hands, how many of you went out and collected data that was then used to create this report? A large number of you. And so thank you all for your participation in the data collection. Without your help, again, there are not enough scientists out there to collect the data needed to really fix these big picture problems. So volunteer collected data is inordinately important for our success. So thank you, and with that information you collected for us, we were able to generate graphs and trend graphs and distribution and abundance plots throughout the state of Rhode Island to understand where these birds are found, where they are not, the types of habitats they rely on. And both of these reports are available for free on our website, so you can download them and read through all of the research that we conducted here within the last 2 years. The second big scope of what we do at Audubon is try to bridge the gap that exists between the scientific community and the general public. Quite frankly, a lot of scientists do what they do to help the situation. So they study populations in decline, they learn as much as they possibly can about them, then they publish their research, and very little of that research actually ends up trickling its way down to the general public. So educating the public about what the primary drivers of decline are and what can be done to mitigate those sources of decline is something that's incredibly important, particularly when you're asking for buy-in from the general public. So this symposium is designed to take researchers throughout New England, get them all together in one location, and have them disseminate the work that they do to a general audience with little to no scientific background, so that leaving here today, you all better understand what the problems are, you better understand how we can fix those problems, and you walk away a better steward of the environment than you were when you showed up this morning. So hopefully you will all be able to glean a great deal of information from this day of talks that you can take outside of this building and you can apply in your daily lives. I'm just going to give a quick rundown of our schedule for those of you who are not too familiar with the layout of this building. You're sitting in Bazarski Lecture Hall. Our keynote address, which is going to take place in just 8 minutes, will occur here. And then from here, we will have 6 concurrent sessions running throughout the day. One of those 6 sessions will be held in this room. The other 5 are going to be held in classrooms that are down the hallway. So when you come out of this room, off to the left there is a hallway. All of the classrooms that have talks are going to be down that one hallway. That's also where you will find water bottle filling stations and restrooms. And then we'll have lunch, book signing with our keynote speaker, and book sales for the Rhode Island Bird Atlas, all taking place out in the dining area. So that's kind of a lay of the land. We will have a coffee break immediately following our keynote address for a 15-minute period, let you schmooze with one another a little bit, and then from there we'll break into these concurrent sessions. Concurrent sessions will run through until lunch. During the lunch break, which is going to occur in this large open area right outside of this hall, you'll have a chance to buy a signed copy of our keynote speaker's book, which I very much hope you will take advantage of. And then we'll have another round of concurrent sessions, followed by a coffee break, more concurrent sessions, and then we're going to have closing talk and remarks here in this room again. So we will all reconvene here at the end of the day at 4 o'clock. All of the talks and the information on their titles and room location is posted in multiple locations throughout the building. Out on the walls, you'll see large schedules posted. You also were each given a small paper schedule that you can carry with you throughout the day so you can help navigate your day and plan it. Please take note that every single one of these talks repeats. So it's a series of 4 talks, and then all 4 of those talks repeat in the afternoon. That allows you to digest as much material as you possibly can. If there are 2 talks that occur simultaneously and you really want to see them both, you can. You just go to one later in the day. It is also a way for us to alleviate the pressures of having too many people in one room. Some of these classrooms only accommodate 35 to 40 people. If 60 people want to see a talk, it might be better when you show up and the room is packed to just plan on going to the second talk by that speaker later in the day. So they go through, and then again, at the end of the day, we are back in this room again for our closing talk, which will be given by Scott Edwards, who is the chair of the ornithology department at Harvard, and he's going to be giving a talk on bicycling and birding across America during a summer of chaos. and I will introduce Scott, and we can hear everything that he has to say later in the day. So please do find your way back here at 4 o'clock for that.